Hello, this is Coach Aaron Saft and the MR Runningpains podcast. So this week, I'm going to go over a few things, but I'm going to toss out another one of my favorite workouts, and I'm going to take a deep dive into this workout because it can be done in so many different ways. So I'll expound upon that in just a moment. Just wanted to catch up on a few things here. I keep talking about this podcast episode that I recorded with Scott Sosha and Joe Quinlan on pedorthics, orthotics, and footwear. And unfortunately, the file was just too corrupted. We couldn't save the file. I'm just, beside myself because it was such a great episode. So my sincerest apologies to Scott and Joe and to you all. We will try to re-record that podcast because there was so much good information, and I hope we can kind of recapture some of what we went through and talked about. So my apologies to all. Wish that wasn't the case. But lesson learned, don't try to do a long video with your GoPro. It's just too much for that device. Anyway, I'm going to keep moving forward. And again, we'll try to re-record and get that episode back out there. Just a few updates from me. My ankle is doing extremely well. I talked with my physical therapist, Miriam Saloom, and she had some great exercises for me to incorporate. I've made that kind of priority number one. So if you see up on Strava, pretty much every day I'm getting in some kind of core or strength. And basically in that routine, one day, I've been doing about every other day. So one day I'll do my ankle routine, with some core. The next day, I'll do some strength work. Then the next day, ankle and core. Been trying to get a little bit of core in each session, a little bit of strength in each session. Maybe it's only one exercise. Like today, for instance, I did split squats. I did 3 rounds. Split squats are single leg, so I did each leg 10 reps. And then I did some ankle work, some of my ankle exercises, did another round of split squats, some more ankle exercises, another round of split squats, and then, finalized my ankle exercises and then threw in some plank. So that's what my routine's looking like right now. And then on strength days, I'll kind of just do a range of different strength mobility exercises, along with some ankle work. Saturday, I did Jay DeSherry's full Mobo board routine for the ankle. That took a while. I couldn't believe how long that took. It took me about an hour. So hopefully on Saturdays I'll do the full routine, with the DeSherry, and hopefully I'll get a little bit more efficient and better at doing the routine. But yeah, the ankle's coming along. I really appreciate Miriam and her support and, everything she did for me. So going to keep working on that and trying to be diligent. The strength does help, especially, as I age here, 45, we start to lose muscle mass and mobility, range of motion. So, these exercises, they can slow down those effects. Also had a really good question, and I'm going to try to find, some resources, maybe even some other coaches, and perhaps even Tim, who asked me this question about, potentially what are the effects of a training weekend. Carmichael Training Systems and Jason Koop, they talk all the time about these big, training weekends, 3 days in which you typically do about 70% of your weekly volume in the course of those 3 days, which is, that's a tremendous amount. I don't typically do that with many of my athletes. I may do a 3-day block, but that's a lot of volume. So he asked if there was any research that I had read or anything that would credit this or lead us to believe this is something that's viable for most athletes. Again, I have tremendous success with kind of keeping the volume a little bit lower, and keeping my athletes healthy and them finishing the finish line or crossing the finish line. But, it would be interesting to kind of talk through this, not only with perhaps a CTS coach, but, some other coaches as well, see how they use it, and if it benefits their athletes and how. So, maybe we'll form a roundtable discussion and see what we come up with, because I think it's a great question, Tim, and I appreciate that. So I'll get into that as things as I can coordinate that with other coaches. So yeah, everything here, I'm kind of ramping back up, getting my mileage back up. Western States is about 10 weeks away. We have not heard any communications. I was speaking with one of my athletes today, and it's just strange that, here we are, April, I know they just might not have an update to give us. But I'm still registered for Old Dominion. I actually talked with my coach the other day and said, I should probably just stay on this, huh? Like, just, make sure that, if Western States, that it doesn't happen, that I can still go after the Grand Slam. I hate to do that. I feel bad because, there's people on the wait list, and I feel, I feel guilty holding a spot, that I potentially may not use. That's awful to me. But I'm trying to justify it by, well, I may have to run, I just don't know what's going to transpire with Western States. And that's, from all they've said is that, they believe it will happen, but there's so much between the snow and potential for fire, we'll have to see. I know that the Canyons, the 100-miler, I have a runner that's doing the 100-miler, and they changed the course significantly. It is impacting the Western States course. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, the training is ramping back up. Now, obviously, let's see, if I were to do Old Dominion, I'd only have 7 weeks until Old Dominion. So, that's coming up a lot quicker. No, recovering, it took me a little bit more to recover from the 50-miler. I think that's due to a number of factors, sleep, stress, emotions, tough eating. I was not eating well over the Easter break there. I'll say that. So, that's, my recovery was probably hampered by a lot of external factors. I tried to take it easy so far as running goes. I just walked. If you look at Strava, you can see I walked for quite some time, and then when I started running, it was just nice and easy. Aside from any run with my wife, but anyhow, so coming back around. So that leads me into talking about one of my favorite workouts. I think it's such a versatile workout, and it can be done a number of different ways. I'm going to try to talk about the variations that you can create with this workout, as well as how it can be implemented for multiple distances. The workout is 7-minute repeats. Okay. So 7-minute repeats, and this is to be done at lactate threshold. So somewhere between 80 to 85% of maximum heart rate. Okay, we're trying to stay in that range. If you stay in there, you're kind of accomplishing the mission of this workout. Rest. So with anything that's lactate threshold, you're looking at about a 2-to-1 interval to recovery ratio. So if it's a 7-minute interval, you'd have a 3.5-minute recovery. Now, 3.5 minutes is on the maximum. Okay, if you want to create more challenge, diminish the rest. So go 2 minutes, 2 minutes rest, or 1 minute rest. And we're going to talk about ins and outs and how you can do intervals with the ins and outs, 7 minutes on, 7 minutes kind of float. So I'll talk about that workout as well. Like I said, there's a ton of different variations here, as well as how many repeats you do and how that all unfolds for different race distances and different purposes. So, but as with everything, okay, with any workout, you're going to want to start this workout with an active warm up. Okay. Now, if you go back to my favorite Fartlek workouts. I'll put that in the show notes. We always start with active warm-ups, and in the show notes from the Fartleks, I posted some great active warm-ups, some great resources that you can use for your active warm-up. And an active warm-up is just dynamic exercises, moving, getting the body moving, getting the blood pumping. So I've got I think 2 different active warm-ups on my YouTube channel. One is just called the active warm-up, and the other is a banded warm-up. David Roche has a few different warm-ups. He has a banded warm-up as well as one called Wake Up Legs. Jay Johnson, just reviewing here from the Fartlek, Jay Johnson has one that's called Myrtle. That's one of my athletes' favorites. It's really good hip activation. So there's a lot out there. A lot of great resources out there for active warm-ups, but just get in some dynamic movement prior to warming up. Now your warm-up. Now, I've read a very varying different prescriptions for warm-ups. Typically, they say about 20 minutes is a good warm-up time. Some people may not have enough time for a 20-minute warm-up. I think the warm-up is pretty vital, so I wouldn't sacrifice that too much. Maybe 15-minute warm-up, but, for the most part, you want to get in 20 minutes or more. I know I typically don't feel warm-up unless I get it at least 30 minutes. So my warm-ups are at least 30 minutes. That's when my legs start to feel actually warmed up. Now you can, also, if, you worry about the dynamic warm-up, some of the exercises bothering something, you can also do a walking warm-up. All my runs are typically, preceded by my dog walk. I take my dog Miles out for, it could be a half mile, could be a mile. We walk and I just kind of warm up while, taking him on a walk. So I don't record those on Strava or anything, but, all of my runs are pretty much preceded by a walk, especially those that I'll leave from my house. So that's kind of my dynamic warm-up. Other times I'll do the banded warm-up or active warm-up to kind of stretch, and it just depends on how tight and how my legs are feeling. But usually, like I said, it's a walk. So a walk is fine to get that kind of blood pumping and legs moving. And then your run warm-up. So again, I suggest about 20 minutes, but if you need to kind of condense the workout down, you can sacrifice probably 5 minutes and do 15-minute warm-up. And again, if you can sneak in some more and you need some more, that's fine. It's a good place to add some volume into the workout. So if you need some more time or distance on your feet, that's a really good place to get it. Again, warm-ups are just supposed to be nice and easy. For my runners, when I talk about rating of perceived exertion or RPE, my 5 to 6 is their conversational pace. Okay, that's what I prescribe as their daily run. For a warm-up, we're looking at about 4 to 5, right? So 4 is jogging, nice and easy, and 5 is the beginning of that kind of conversational pace zone. So if we're talking about heart rate, we're talking high zone 2, low zone 3. Okay, so on a 5-zone scale, that's where we're talking about for warming up. Just low heart rate, just kind of getting the blood pumping. And then I usually follow it with a few drills. If you're not familiar with form drills, there's some great resources out there. I can share a video that I kind of share with my runners. But I try to get my legs moving a little bit, and then I'll do some strides. Typically strides, they're about 15 seconds. So I do 4 to 6 strides of 15 seconds with 45-second jog recovery. And that usually gets me into, a good place where my legs feel ready to run fast. My strides they're done at about a 9 RPE. I never like to go all out, so it's not a full all out sprint. But again, at a faster pace just to get the heart rate up and get it primed for what it's about to take on. So again, dynamic warm up or walk, followed by your run warm up, followed by some drills, and then lastly strides going into the workout. Now the workout itself, on the most basic level, let's start there. If you have never done a workout like this, I would say, walk warm up, jog, again, 15 to 20 minutes, add a few strides, maybe 3 to 4 strides just to kind of get the legs turning over. And then I would go 3 times 7 minutes with 3:30 recovery. If math is not your forte, do 3 by 7 minutes with 3 minutes recovery. That way it's a 10-minute block, 7 minutes of intensity, 3 minutes of recovery. So you got a 10-minute block. So your workout's going to take you 30 minutes, potentially less because you won't have the last recovery on the last interval. You'll just go into your cool down. But 3 times 7 minutes, again, intensity, again, my RPE scale, or rating of perceived exertion, is 5 to 6 is my normal run. So my tempo, this is kind of my tempo zone, or lactate threshold zone, is 7 to 8. That's where I kind of classified this workout for RPE on my scale. Again, by heart rate, 80 to 85%. We're looking, kind of in that zone 4 of the 5 heart rate scale, or 5 heart rate zones. So zone 4, 80 to 85%. For those, and then on the recoveries, you really want that heart rate to kind of drop back down into high zone 2. That may just require you standing still if you're just starting. Just standing there for 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, whatever you're taking to get that heart rate to come back down. And maybe the last minute, or half minute, you just start jogging again to kind of get back into, the running motion. Now, those recoveries, if you are running, again, you want to get that heart rate low. So you're just kind of shuffling. Real easy, real super easy, okay? Get that heart rate down so that your body is ready for the next interval, okay? So that's kind of the setup. Your 7 minutes at 7 to 8 RPE, or 80 to 85% of maximum heart rate. 3-minute jog, again, getting that heart rate back down. So you're doing 3 sets of that. That's kind of my beginner workout. That's a great workout for my 5K runners. Okay, I think that's a great lactate threshold, a great introduction. Some coaches like to put in a 20-minute tempo. This is kind of even a more basic way of kind of splitting that up so that they're not intimidated by doing too much time, all of a sudden, right? They have 3 7-minute intervals, all right? So great workout for them. Now, depending on your runner and their experience, or depending on you and your experience, you can add intervals in based on your level of comfort. Some of mine start with 4 by 7 minutes, and some of them may have 5 by 7 minutes. And then there's variations to this workout, okay? And that's kind of what I want to talk about, is the variations, okay? So anybody from half marathon on up to ultra marathon, 4 by 7 minutes may be enough. That's 28 minutes of hard work. Whereas some may want, a fifth. So even potentially a sixth. It's, when we talk about these intervals, and again, depending on your level of ability, your experience with these workouts, your ability to recover from them, you can go up to, potentially 60 minutes of this work. Okay. I don't typically prescribe 7 minutes times, that would be almost, 8 intervals. I don't really prescribe that high. I don't think you really need to, with this type of workout, especially if you try one of these variations. And so the first variation I'll say is alternating uphills and downhills. Now with my example of 7 times 3 minutes, I would say the first 7-minute interval, you would do uphill. Okay. And I will get into, if you don't have a 7-minute uphill, how to do this workout. But let's say you do have a 7-minute uphill. So you do 7-minute uphill. Then for your 3-minute recovery, you're going to continue to walk up the hill. So you get a little bit more distance and you're not going hard. You are recovering. And when you hit that 3 minutes, you turn around and run downhill for 7 minutes. Okay. Now it's harder to get that heart rate up because you're going downhill, but it gives you a good workout. You're getting the up and the down. Okay. Also, you don't have to keep going uphill, so the hill doesn't have to be so long. A lot of our races have a lot of up and down. So again, some good downhill training here. So you go 7 minutes down. If you're not back at the start, continue to jog towards the start for your recovery. If you get to the start, do an out and back so that you're back at the start for your next interval. And then since these are alternating, you would go back uphill for 7 minutes. Okay, if you're doing 3x7, when you finish that last uphill, you've done 2 uphills, 1 downhill, then you just cool down. Now, cool down, that it's really, again, depending on your time, I think 15 minutes is a great cool down. You can go longer if you want to add in some volume, as long as you're not too tired. If you're too fatigued, you don't want to be on your feet for too long because you're re-emphasizing bad form, bad habits. So, don't make the cool down too long. Now, I realize you're finishing at the top of the hill. You may be further away from your car, so it may require you a little bit more time to get back. But you would cool down, if you need to stretch before you hop in your car or wherever you're at, stretch out, and then you're on your way. But the great thing about this one is that, you could do however many intervals you want of alternating uphill and downhill. My most popular one, the one that I prescribe the most, is 5 times 7 minutes. So you have 3 uphill intervals and 2 downhill intervals. It's kind of my favorite uphill downhill variation is 5 intervals. So, but again, do it according to where you're at. If it's 3, if it's 4, it's 5, it's 6, whatever you want to do. Okay. Now the variation on that is if you do not have a hill that long, you could do it potentially on your treadmill. Now on a treadmill, I typically prescribe 8% incline for these intervals. And I state in my instructions that warm up strides can be done outside, cool down can be done outside, intervals on the treadmill. Okay. So what I always state is that they would do 7 minutes at 8% incline. Again, you're monitoring your heart rate. Then they would drop the incline down to like 2 to 4, so you don't have to drop it too much. And then walk for those 3-minute recoveries, and then boost it back up. Now here you're getting uphill repeats, they're great. That's a great workout. So great. There's so many positive benefits of uphill intervals, including raising your knees. Okay, you're kind of less impact forces. So a lot of good things with uphill intervals. So a great workout, great accommodation if you don't have the potential to do up and down. Some treadmills have the capacity to go downhill. Usually that capacity isn't too great of a decline. Now, so you could do it and alternating up down on your treadmill. The only problem again is, 1, the incline may not go too steep, and 2, on the downhill, a lot of times the treadmill has a governor. It doesn't allow you to go very fast on the downhills. So if, know the capacities or the limitations of your treadmill prior to doing the workout. Make sure that you can get enough incline, make sure that it has enough speed, all of these variables so that, you can complete the workout. So that's one iteration of the workout that I like to do is, these can be done again, rather than alternating uphill and downhill. These can be done on the flat, on a greenway, on a track. They can be done on rolling hills. Simulate the course that you're going to be running on. Okay. That's the best thing. So if you have some big climbs in your race, then, you're going to want to do the alternating uphills and downhills, or just the treadmill uphill incline workout. Okay. So, just again, make sure that you are being specific towards your race. So what best way to train yourself, okay, according to the course you're going to be competing on. So with that said, a few other variations. I talked about the in and out workout. The in and out workout. So your in interval, that's 7 minutes at 80 to 85%. Okay. Then you're going to take a float recovery. This is great for marathoners. Okay. The float recovery, because your 80 to 85% maximum heart rate is going to be somewhere near your half marathon pace, if you want to look at it that way. Okay. So 7 minutes, we'll say at half marathon pace. And then you're going to do 7 minutes at marathon pace. Okay, so you're backing off slightly. That's probably going to be in that gray area. Again, this isn't an area we don't want to train or spend too much time in, but it's not too much under what you were just doing, right? So you're going half marathon pace, marathon pace, half marathon pace, marathon pace. That's the in and out. You're alternating those two efforts, half marathon pace for 7 minutes. Okay. You can do it as 1Ks or miles. I like to do it as time because then they're not thinking so much about the distance that they're covering. They're focusing more on the effort, on the pace. It kind of takes a little bit of the edge off of the workout. But if you are just really distance based, again, you can alternate these as that 1Ks. You can do 1200s. You can do miles. There's a different variations that you can include based on what you're training for. Okay, so great workout for half marathoners, marathoners. That's a great workout. 50K as well. You could throw it in as a 50K workout. So very versatile, in and out, and varying those paces. Now, if you're doing a 50K, you may want to even back off a little bit further and do maybe stick to the 80 to 85%, and then go to your 50K. Effort, which would probably put you somewhere in the range of zone 3, is my guess, somewhere between that 72 to 78% of maximum heart rate. So, you can use that as a 50K workout as well. And that's the in and out workout. Okay. It's used by Canova. That's a great workout. Canova's one of the most brilliant kind of marathon coaches. So some good stuff by him. So great workout. So enjoy that one. So yeah, there's another variation. Let me think if there's one more variation that I want to talk about in this podcast. This is more of kind of a I don't want to call it a fartlek, but we're learning more and more about igloi. If you listen to Steve Magnus's On Coaching podcast, he talks a lot about igloi. They're trying to unravel a lot of igloi. And you can, as I talked about earlier, you could do a 7-minute interval and then just real short rest. Maybe it's a minute, it could be, I would say a minute's probably as short as I would go. But it doesn't give you much recovery. But it teaches your body to kind of stay in that kind of that steady state. So, this 7 on 1 easy, that's a tough workout. But, if you're a marathoner, half marathoner, that's a really good workout. I used to do mile repeats with 1 minute rest. And we would do half marathon pace for a mile, 1 minute rest, and then half marathon pace for a mile. Same type of workout here, 7 minutes, 80 to 85% maximum heart rate, 1 minute rest. So that's a really good variation, really challenging. Do it when you have more fitness, obviously. I try to keep my training of my athletes in kind of phases. And so that one, I would say, both the in and out and the 7 and 1 would be more in my integration phase. Integration is kind of one of the last phases on the Lydiard pyramid, and it's kind of being more race specific. So, again, we're trying to be specific to the race you're going to try to peak at. So this is kind of giving you that race pace simulation, whether it be half marathon or marathon. Again, I still use these 7-minute intervals for my ultra runners. I think it's great to include, I term it like a lactate threshold, or long interval phase of training. So, you can definitely incorporate it in these phases. There are long intervals in marathon training as well. So, use these as you will. But like I said, very versatile workout. Hopefully I gave you some good ideas. It doesn't have to be 7 minutes. Obviously, you can create whatever interval you want or whatever makes more sense to you, but I think it's a good starting point. Typically the intervals get a little bit longer from there once they've had experience with that kind of, especially the alternating uphill and downhill workout. I may do, a 10-minute where it's 10 minutes up, and then, the recovery, I typically give, I think 2 to 3 minutes is great recoveries for these workouts. You may need a little bit more. So as I said earlier, that 2-to-1 ratio. So if you did 10 minutes, you could take up to 5 minutes. That's fine. But I like to prescribe 2 to 3. I think that's a good recovery period without it getting too long. So, 10 minutes up, 2 to 3 minutes recovery, 10 minutes down, 2 to 3 minutes recovery, 10 minutes up. The intervals can be increased. Obviously, that's a variation that you can include. Okay. So, think about, where you're doing it, how you're doing it, how long the intervals are, how long the rests are. Those are all things that you can kind of switch up to create different variables within the workout. And it's not to say you can't just repeat the same workout. Let's say you had a workout that was 5 by 7 minutes. Okay. Maybe the next week you just do a steady state or tempo run that's a little bit longer, maybe 25-minute tempo run. And then, give yourself another week, and then you go back to the 5 by 7 minute workout. See if your pace is a little bit faster. Try to do it on the same course, see where your heart rate's at. Okay. Of course, there's a lot of variables that can switch up and change your heart rate data, but it should give you some good indications if you're gaining fitness and heading in the right direction. So, check out those metrics. Okay. So that's what I got. That's one of my favorite workouts with some variations. If you have questions, if I didn't go over anything in enough detail or depth, reach out. Let me know. Happy to answer some questions. Let's see. So far as the coaching world goes, let's see. I'm hesitant to say I have spots because I'm extremely busy. But if you do need coaching, I'm not going to say not to reach out. Please reach out. I'll see where I'm at. I hate to be indefinite, but let's have that conversation if you're interested in the coaching, because I want to help. I know I do have a few people that are coming off of training after Boston. So by all means, reach out, because I will have some spots opening up. So we'll just say, yes, if you're interested in coaching, please let me know. And if you have questions, if you're a coach and have questions and want to talk about things, happy to have that conversation. I never want you to feel like, it's improper. No, that's what we're all here for, is to learn from one another. And it's not to say that I'm right or have the answers. It's good to talk things over. Here's others' perspectives, for sure. And, if I don't know, then I think that's a great conversation to have and find out, what the actual answer is. So, please, don't hesitate to ask questions. And I thank you all so much for listening. Thank you for being a part of this podcast. Look forward to sharing more with you in the near future. And until next time, keep running, my friends.